Well, it is time for Tech Tuesday. We've been talking about the battle over artificial intelligence. Well, it's heating up in a number of areas because now Google wants a slice of the action.
Oh, plus Samsung getting ready to debut the first new smartphones of 2023. Joining us live with those headlines and more is our tech expert, Greg Nibbler. Hey, Greg, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, starting off, we'll go with the phones here first before we get into the robots. But we do have that. So that's coming up tomorrow. Samsung's going to have their first big event of the year, Galaxy Unpacked, revealing their new smartphones. And because, a lot of things get leaked ahead of time, we kind of know what we're going to see. So a bit of a preview on it. 3 new smartphones. So it's the Galaxy S23 line, which is their flagship. They compete with Apple with these ones. So this is the big one for them. An S23, S23 Plus, S23 Ultra, we're expecting with different, requisite upgrades for each one of those. The camera is going to be a big focus. Even in their teaser there, they're talking about night photography, something about moons. So I'm sure they're going to be showing off some new abilities with that. One thing we do think we're going to get with the S23 Ultra is a 200 megapixel sensor for that phone. There's a couple of those already out there, but this would kind of be the biggest release of one with that. I mean, that's huge. 200 megapixels is, I don't even know what exactly you would use that for, but I guess it would be cool to have. So that's something we could get to see from that. Also, some new laptops coming out from Samsung. Maybe not earbuds, so we might not see something of that, but expect some bells and whistles and some fancy stuff being thrown about on social media tomorrow. So definitely, if you're a Samsung fan, you're going to want to find out about this.
Okay, interesting. All kinds of cool new tech.
Yeah, lots of camera lenses on that camera.
Cameras, yeah, big on cameras.
Yeah. Okay, so Google AI, we've been talking about all of this artificial intelligence. It's everywhere now. Apparently, they've got AI now that can create original music. How does this work?
Yeah, so AI obviously everywhere. You've got Microsoft buying into it now, and then Google is kind of playing a little bit of catch up. And this is something that they've created, and they released this as just kind of a demo. So it's called Music LM, and the idea is much like the AI artwork that we had before, we could type in, keywords. You do that only for music, and it'll create original AI music. We've got a couple of samples here. I know one of them we were going to play is the reggaeton one, where, let's see, the description was a fusion of reggaeton and electronic dance music with a spacey, otherworldly sound. And then this is kind of an example of what they created with this.
Huh.
It seems like, something that maybe a person could create, but I think just the fact that you just put in those descriptors and it just pops that out.
Right.
That's pretty impressive.
It's got like the beat that you hear in a lot of reggaeton with like that spacey sound. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea that you could just throw that in there and have that. We've got another one here. So they came out with a whole bunch of them, but another example, let's see, we've got this one. So rising synth playing an arpeggio with a lot of reverb. So it gets a lot of stuff in there, but you hear like some of the vocals. The vocals don't make any sense if you actually listen to them. They aren't actually words, but throwing that in there and just being able to come up with that on the fly is showing just where AI is really going, which is cool, a little bit unnerving. If you're an artist, maybe especially an artist who creates things for, say, like video games, that's a big thing where this could be targeting, or commercials.
I'm
stuff.
thinking of all of the, like the licensing music, copyrighted music.
Right,
if you don't want to pay for a licensing agreement, this could
Exactly.
be a big slice of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're a musician, this probably isn't something you necessarily want to see happening, especially a commercial musician. But this one's not going to be released to the public yet because of some copyright concerns, because I think what's happened is the AI has kind of adopted some things that could easily sound like an actual artist's music. So I think we're a little ways away from it, but it's coming there. I could see this definitely for like an industrial commercial license kind of thing.
Well, and that was one of the same criticisms with some of the AI art. People were, saying, you're building all of the learned prompts off of other things that were created by humans. So who gets the credit for some of this? Is it stealing if it's basing all of it off of things it learned from someone else's creativity? I don't know.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a huge concern with I mean, it's not stopping. Like all this AI is going to happen regardless. But yeah, that's going to be the big thing that still needs to be settled out is how do and even if an AI artist creates something, then is that copyrighted to them or can you use that? Like, how does that all work? That stuff's all got to get shaken out, but the tech is moving forward anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So I have to ask you before we move on to our last topic, did you actually write this or did a chatbot do this segment?
Yeah, I know. Seriously, some of this stuff, I mean, I heard you talking about this earlier too. It's kind of unnerving. There's a lot of articles, a lot of tech sites are using it now.
Yeah.
They're just writing articles. CNET is doing it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I did see this movie and liked it. And I like this effect that you're talking about. A Terminator 2-like robot could become a reality based on a new demo of a liquid robot. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is coming from Carnegie Mellon University, and they partnered with the Chinese university, and they released this kind of demo showing it. So these are actually magnetized particles that are built within gallium, which is like a metal that apparently has a melting point of 86 degrees, so it can melt pretty easily. The demo they showed was, yeah, it's a robot essentially melting and then going through these bars. So it's very reminiscent of Terminator 2. And then they freeze it. So this is a sped up example of it, but it shows it just reforms back into the robot itself. So in addition to, maybe being the Terminator 2 looking for John Connor type of robot you could get, you also, though, they say could use this for actual good purposes. They mentioned having something really small that you would use for medical purposes, like say delivering medicine to a specific, like stomach was what they showed, like having it actually place some kind of medicine, on a specific section of the stomach using magnets. Another thing they showed was it maybe repairing machinery that's really hard to get to. So say there's like a screw that came out inside of a machine, you could have this thing melt down to a liquid, go through the cracks, go find, say, where a screw popped out, and then form within that screw or pour itself into that and then solidify, and then boom, it's solved like that. So a lot of really good use cases, but it's just it's fascinating seeing it actually in action there. Just a robot that can melt and then reform. That's incredible.
I feel like this entire segment is just like sending me into an existential spiral.
I know.
What world
really
are
is.
we in?
Yeah.
Man.
It's nuts.
It's wild.
It's nuts.
Greg, thanks for the rundown. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks a lot.
And stay informed with all things tech by following Greg on Twitter. He's at Greg Nibbler.